Hey everyone, what is going on? My name's MrWombat Live and welcome back to the channel. In today's Payday 2 video, we're going to be discussing everything new in update 210. There is a brand new game update out for Payday. It's one of the smaller updates they've released in the last few months / years, really. It's all about meta changes to the way weapons work in the game. There is actually no new content in this update, it is just these meta changes. Unfortunately, I think it's the first update in quite a while that's not added anything, even free or paid. But either way, we're here explaining everything new because that's what I always do for the main game updates. So in this video, I'm going to break down the whole update, talk about which things in particular are being changed, and then also break down the patch notes themselves, because this time it's more logical to look at those as well to see what exactly has been changed stats-wise. But very quickly, before we get into this update, I just want to remind everyone, as per usual, whenever there is an update for Payday 2, I'm streaming it on Twitch later that night. So 7 PM BST tonight, we will be playing the new Payday 2 update on PC. It was going to be a console stream, but it won't be this week, it'll be console next week instead. So we're going to play Payday 2 on PC, check out the new update, and have a go of the new guns, work with some builds, and see what we can get going with them. So make sure you check out that Twitch stream if you're interested. And also, as I mentioned in the last Payday 2 video, my Q&A video is going to be recorded later this week. So if you have any last questions for my Q&A about my content, myself, Payday, anything in between, leave them in the comment section as well. But either way, enough talking from me, let's get right into the video and start by rolling the intro. So like I said in the opening to this video, this update is all focused around meta tweaks, and in particular this time, we're looking at assault rifles and the optimization of shotguns. So in this video, I'm going to read most, if not all, of their key posts to really explain what the logic is here, because I think it is useful for people to get what the logic is behind the scenes with these changes. So let's kick off by reading that update. Hello Heisters, today we bring you a smaller update focused on the game's meta, and while the main focus in the update seems to be for low damage assault rifles, there are also performance optimizations for the shotguns. Also included are a few tweaks to specific weapons like the concealment of the RPK to allow for crit builds, and a buff to the ammo pool of the Lebensauger 308. There are also some interesting tweaks in regards to scopes, both how they function in-game and additional info while in the menus. And finally, they've improved the lighting in the weapon customization view, so your guns will look their best while you tinker and tailor them to your needs and desires. Additionally, for people who play Dead by Daylight on PC, originally to get the exclusive feeder and dendron masks in the game, you had to own the deluxe edition of Dead by Daylight, but because that edition no longer exists, it's now defunct, you only have to own the base game for Dead by Daylight to get those two masks. So if you own the standard edition of Dead by Daylight, you'll find now those masks are available to you, and if you don't own it, pick up the game, the masks will be yours. A few interesting tweaks and changes, most of which are broken down in more detail later in this. So let's start off first with the shotguns. Each shotgun fires a number of pellets, also known as hit rays, and if one or more of these would hit an enemy, the weapon's damage is applied. And this means that if multiple rays hit an enemy, it still applies the same amount of damage as if only one ray would hit the enemy. These rays can be very performance heavy, and so we have adjusted the number of rays per weapon based on damage class. Higher damage weapons and slower firing weapons will keep the higher number of rays, whereas fast firing and low damaging weapons will have fewer hit rays. This will yield improved performance, especially on older machines running games with multiple shotguns present. The Jocelyn, Moscone, and Claire 12-gauge shotguns, however, will remain unaffected. Now, I know Overkill haven't really been doing much on console, but this is a fix I really wish had happened on the console versions of Payday 2. For those of you out there on Xbox One and PS4 that remember when the Grims were first added to Payday 2 on those platforms, they broke the game completely. Basically, if any other person in the lobby other than you was using the Grims, it would crash everybody else's games because the amount of pellets hitting the wall at the fast speed that the Grim fires at would literally cause the game to break. And to fix it, all Overkill did on console was just reduce the fire rates. They basically made the Grims nowhere near as good just to stop the game from crashing. So I really wish on console they'd do this as well and change the amount of hit rates. I think it's like talking to a brick wall at this point because we all know Overkill aren't really doing much with consoles anymore, sadly. I'm trying my best to get them to do something, but there's only so much I can do. So while I really wish this was on console, it is also useful for those of you on lower performance PCs who may be struggling when you hear a lot of pellets hitting the wall, maybe slowing your game down. Reducing the number of hit rates means there's less pellets hitting the wall, and so your game should run better if there are loads of people in your lobby using shotguns. Which is a really nice change, because as it said in that description, if more than one ray hits an enemy, it's not adding more damage anyway. You only want one of the hit rays to hit an enemy for the damage to be applied. So reducing the amount of hit rays isn't really going to make a difference to the gun's performance, it's just going to make a difference to the game's actual performance, which is good. Next up, they've also looked at some of the assault rifles, and they want to bring up the DPS of the low damage class of assault rifles in order for them to be more balanced against their mid damage counterparts. And so to achieve this, they've increased the damage for the low damage class. They've also addressed the long reload times on some weapons, which is an issue that's been addressed in different ways depending on the weapon. So it really is case by case basis for the weapons, but like I said, we'll be looking at the change log shortly so we can see just exactly how things have changed. And then the final thing in the actual Steam post is with regard to scopes. They've altered the look of the scope while you ADS to give a better view through the optics, which means you're seeing more of the battlefield downrange, as less will be obscured by the sight itself. Additionally, when you look at the weapon stats in the inventory and the menus, you'll now also see a stat for the strength of the scope, which which is actually listed as the scope's zoom level. They've also included an example image here before and after with the compact tactical box sight, so you can really see the change there. And it's one of the reasons that I don't tend to use a lot of sights in Payday 2. I often get comments about this in live streams, etc., where I tend to use a lot of iron sights, and it's because these big sights do tend to take up a lot of the screen, and you don't see much of what's going on because half the screen is taken up by a box sight or something. This is a really positive change in the right direction. It's not a big change, but it is something that makes a good difference, and that's all you can ask for. And that's the main gist of the update. No new content, but changes to weapon metas. Now, like I've said, we're going to jump into the patch notes, so if that's enough information for you, feel free to duck out now, but what we're going to do is have a look at the official patch notes and look specifically at the weapon stats sections to see what has actually changed. So there are three main sections of stats we're going to be looking at first: the overall weapon changes, the shotgun hit rate changes, and the low damage assault rifle tweaks. So let's start off first with the overall weapon changes. As you can see, the RPK's concealment has gone up from 1 to 5. Then we also have 3 changes made to the Lebensauge 308 sniper rifle, decreasing the reload speed, increasing the mag size, and increasing the total ammo pool. All very general things, not the things we're really here for. Let's look next at the shotgun hit rays. And as you can see, apart from the ones that were listed earlier that have had no changes made, a lot of these shotguns have had their hit rays reduced. And all that means, like I've said, is that there are less hit rays firing per shot of your shotgun, which should make the game perform better, but not really make the shotguns any weaker. There is literally no point in me sitting here reading this. We would all fall asleep. I would fall asleep recording it if I read every single stat. You can see them on screen. Feel free to pause if you need longer to look at them and look for your shotguns in particular, but that sums up the shotgun hit rays. And then finally, we have got the low damage assault rifle tweak. Again, I'm not going to sit here and read through every single stat change because we'll be here all day, but they are all on screen for you to read. I'm going to give a general look at what's been changed. You can see there are increases for the Clarion, Valkyria, Amcar, Commando, JP36, Car 4, UAR, AK, and AK5, as well as the Queen's Wrath, Tempest, and Union 5.56. Those are all the guns that have had just base damage increases and nothing else. However, you can also see the bootleg assault rifle has had quite the buff, with its damage going from 40 to 70, as well as its reload speed decreasing and concealment value decreasing. So they've tried to counteract the high damage and lower reload speed by making it less concealable. Personally, when the Most Wanted update came out on consoles, which was my first interaction with the bootleg, I used that gun to death, and then after a while quickly realized that it wasn't really as strong as I wanted it to be, and there were other assault rifles that are stronger. This change here makes you want to go back and actually give it another go, because I loved the whole assault rifle with an LMG drum mag thing. That was really cool to me when it first came out. So to revisit it now with increased power and decreased reload speed, that's pretty exciting to me. But the other two guns that have had big changes are the Lion's Roar assault rifle and the Gecko. So for the Lion's Roar, a 20 increase to the damage stat, another reload speed decrease, but also a total ammo pool increase. So the Lion's Roar has not suffered anything to counteract its buffs. It's just been buffed across the board on damage, reload speed, and ammo pool. So if you like the Lion's Roar rifle, you're going to be quite happy with these changes. And finally, for the Gecko assault rifle, the damage has increased by 10, the reload speed has been reduced by roughly a third, the magazine size has gone up from 30 to 35, and the total ammo pool has increased from 150 to 175, just like the Lion's Roar, a buff across the board with no nerfs to counteract it. Very interesting. Overall, I'm really happy with this. It was kind of like when they buffed LMGs and they increased all the stats and made them more viable. I'm not sure if it's going to have quite the same effect with a lot of the assault rifles, especially the top chunk where it's just the damage changing, but I will be trying these out on stream and having a go, and I'm very excited. It's cool to see them going back to these older guns and changing stats to make them more powerful. You know, if it was all about nerfing, it might get a bit boring, because even though it's about optimization and making sure the guns are balanced, it's nice to see guns get the positive treatment rather than the negative one. As always, there are some general fixes and heist fixes which I'm flashing up on screen now. Feel free to pause the video and read through them if you need to. I don't tend to read over those, so there's no point in me addressing them here and now. But as always, the link to the post and or patch notes will be in the description anyway. Feel free to go and click on those and read them yourself if that would suit you better than just pausing the video. But that wraps up this video talking about everything new in update 210. Quite a simple one, really. There's not really anything to talk about too much. It's just, you know, the meta changes. And honestly, there's some pretty good ones here. As I've said, I really do wish that the consoles would get the shotgun change, but I don't see it happening. They've literally not updated consoles now in nearly 2 years. I don't see it changing. Really wish I could say I do, but I just don't. But if Overkill are listening to this, and I kind of hope they are with me being a partner, please look into it. I know that there's not many people probably working on consoles, if at all now, but please at least consider it. If it's something you can do quite easily without too much hassle, please send someone to do it, change the stats, and make the guns a bit more viable, because then you might be able to up the Grimm's fire rate again and make it perform like it does on PC. Because it honestly did annoy me at the time that all you did was reduce the fire rate and make the gun far less viable, just so games didn't crash. That's not fair to console players, it never has been, and I'm sure you can agree on that. But either way, that does bring an end to this video, so if you have enjoyed it, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. It would show me you like this content and would like to see more. And if you happen to be new around here and haven't yet subscribed, consider doing that too. It's quick, it's free, and I'll always love you for doing so. I will see you all tonight at 7 PM BST for the update stream, looking over all these gun changes. It's going to be quite exciting. And as I've said before, make sure to leave all your Q&A questions in the comment section down below. But either way, that will wrap up this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all very soon with a brand new one. Until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.